good. Good to have you all join us today. We're excited about today's session as we are with every other session.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah. Interestingly, I mean, when we put out the notification for money, don't distract me now. I'm trying to focus. I'm trying to focus on this session now. Right. Anyway, so when we put out the notification for today's session earlier, we got a whole lot of, a number of responses. People, looking forward to the session. And we hope that it turns out to be a very exciting conversation with you all today.
Yeah, and please continue to contribute, because your contributions are make the session as well. So they're quite important.
Yeah. So please, you're not about to just hear us talk about our own views. I mean, I guess you guys have been good anyway. You always comment and all. Today, actually, I would really encourage anyone that wants to contribute to jump on, so that we can have a well-rounded conversation.
And by jump on, he means join us on Instagram, be part of the Instagram live. So if you need to get ready, please do get ready.
Yeah, right. T-Mac, you're late to the party today.
Hi, T-Mac.
Good to see you.
Hi, Benji with the patch.
Okay, I'm not sure who that is.
Okay.
Warija, you're welcome. Yeah, thank you all. We really appreciate you guys joining in. Believe it or not, this is the 20th.
Yeah, 20th together.
Yeah, 20th together. Yeah, session of Blue Sofa. And this is something that we actually thought was just going to be like a few weeks. So we'll keep having it until we run out of what to talk about. And that could be next Sunday.
But if you have any suggestions, then please do send it through.
Yeah. Oh, T-Mac, if we're not going to be on, don't worry, we'll let you know. But it's been fun. We enjoy the conversations we have with you. The feedback is always very, very good and keeps us going, to be honest. So thank you, Lisa, for the encouragement.
Yeah.
And I think we need to have yourself and Manny back again.
Yes.
You guys have spicing up the conversations that I think we need a bit more color to the conversation. So Manny and Lisa, get ready once again. Lisa, how come you are home, but Manny's one making dinner, I guess?
Is it Manny's turn, or was he distracted by Lisa's cooking?
Right. Anyway, so what are we talking about today?
So we titled this Battle of the Sexes Part 2 because last week we were talking about Battle of the Sexes as well. But today we kind of wanted, we spoke about it a bit last week. And so we thought we'd kind of continue the conversation. Yeah. And so today the question is, can the man still be the head of the family if the woman is the breadwinner? So if the woman is earning more than the husband, can he still be the head of the house?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts?
I think it would be good to create an extreme scenario, right? Okay. Because if she's earning more than him, maybe about $1,000 or $2,000 a year, that's really nothing.
Okay. Yeah.
So let's say she's earning 4 times what he's earning, right?
4 times.
Yeah. Okay. So he's on 25K, she's on 100K.
100K.
Yeah. And the lifestyle at those different brackets is very, very different.
That's true.
So with that kind of difference, I wonder if it would affect the home front.
That's true. And we want to hear from the ladies and the guys from both perspectives. 4 times is serious. It's true. 4 times is serious. So 25K.
Yeah.
And 100K.
Yeah. I remember many years ago. I mean, one of my friends. I think this was before we got married, right? She said to me, she was already a matured single. so she said to me that a guy coming along, and then she was already earning very well. A guy coming along, and we created a similar scenario, earning about, so the guy being either her age mate or older than her, but earning a fraction of what she's earning, maybe a quarter of what she's earning. She said that in her mind she'd be thinking, what has this guy been doing with his life? what has he been doing with his life all this while? And I think it's having that conversation, about whether your paycheck determines your level of influence at home. So it'll be good to have, your thoughts on it, guys. Any
So Manny said he'll happily be a house husband.
Manny, the truth is, I won't lie. I think I'll be okay with that too. But again, it actually it depends on the guy, really.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on both parties.
Yes, it does actually. Yeah.
Because if the guy, if his ego is not affected in that way, and she doesn't sort of flaunt it in his face.
Like, how would she flaunt it? Like, oh, I'm buying this.
Yeah, coming on with Louis Vuitton bag every now and again, and the guy can ask, where did you get the money from? Some women, right? Now, at times, particularly if, let's say the guy is a breadwinner, and maybe she should get allowances or whatever, even if she's earning quite well.
Yeah.
For fear of the guy asking her where the money is coming from all the time, when she goes shopping, she will hide the bag. Hide the bag, sort of smuggle it into the house, and then one day she'll just bring it out.
Yeah.
But
people do that. They don't need to. Women don't need to. Well, people don't need to earn more to do that.
Yeah, but what I'm saying now is, so imagine if the lady was earning more, she would just be carrying her stuff.
Yeah, true.
She won't have to hide it because why are you asking me? I earn a lot anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what are your thoughts? We have some exciting, we think anyway, some exciting conversations ahead.
So T-Mac said, why does finance come into it? Why are we equating or looking at finance in relation to headship?
Well, that's a good question. I think for me, that would be, I would try to answer that in two parts. Because that's the way society generally measures value and influence, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not necessarily saying it's right, but that is actually a measure. That's one. Number two, your finance as well, your money in many senses is a measure of the value of your time, right? So you'd find that somebody earning that kind of money is trading their time quite significantly for that money, right? So it means that the likelihood is the lady earning 4 times 100K, nobody's just going to give you that money for nothing.
Yeah.
So she's putting in longer hours, doing a whole lot more, all kinds of things. So that's why we're using money as a measure in that way. Yeah. So now let's look at what the Bible says actually, first of all, and get his thought on that. So I guess, not a lot. I doubt if any of us, well, at least not many of us on this Instagram session today would argue what the Bible's position is on this conversation. But I kind of have a slant to this that I want to introduce. But anyway, Ephesians chapter 5, verse 22 to 23. Ephesians 5, 22 to 23 says, wives, submit to your husbands as to the Lord, for the husband is the head of the wife. Note that, head of the wife, right? Just as Christ is the head of the church, his body of which he is the Savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their own husbands in everything. So we're saying then that if the lady is the breadwinner, how then, is it right for her, for the man to still be the head, right? So that's a simple question we're asking. So yes, no. Hi, Peju. How are you? Yeah. So yes, no, guys. Yes, no. If the lady is earning that much, is it right for the? I mean, I know that there are varying scenarios, right? But let's just try and keep it black and white. I know it's not black and white. So yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, guys.
So if the woman's earning more,
Yeah.
is the man the head? Is the man still the head?
Yeah.
So what are your answers on YouTube? Please yes, no as well.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Lisa, on YouTube. So yes, no, yes, no. Anyone? Okay, please just yes or no. Yes or no. Okay, good. Okay,
Yes.
it has to be, yeah.
Okay, we're getting lots of yeses.
Yeah.
Any no's? Or those that are saying no won't be willing to say.
Yeah, okay. All right. Can I just have at least one no?
I don't think anyone wants to own up to saying no.
Lisa, Manny will be very happy to hear that.
Did you say twice? Yes, the man is the head.
Oh, jeez. Okay, so then what's the point of this conversation? Because we all agree, right?
No, but isn't it necessarily the submission part that I don't know, you can know something, but when it's actually playing out, in practice, is the man being treated as the head in that home?
Yeah.
So we can say, okay, this is what the Bible says. There are many things that the Bible say, and then we're meant to carry those things out. But are we actually carrying those things out? So does the man feel the head? And does the woman truly see him as the head? Or does she feel like he's not doing enough, or he has no vision, or whatever?
Yeah. So let's create so in practice, so decisions would be something like, okay, a job opportunity opens up. We're in London right now. A job opportunity opens up in Birmingham.
Wow.
And I mean, she's the breadwinner. Do they make that move, given that it would add considerable amount to the family income, or should they insist that they stay back? Or that's an example. Now, the woman wants the children to go to private school because after all she can afford it. I mean, but it doesn't want that, because it doesn't see a need to, right? So how does that play out?
But then in that scenario, though, there are two things. It's because there's a difference between him not wanting them to go to private school, for example, because he doesn't see a need, and her wanting them to go to private school because she feels it's the best for them to do.
Yeah.
So there it's about, whereas if, for example, he didn't want them to go to private school because it will be her money that is being used to fund it, and he doesn't have the capability to fund it in his own income, then I think that scenario is kind of wrong.
Well, you find that oftentimes the argument is lost in that situation, because if the guy is insecure, right, he's not going to tell you that it's because whatever. He will just say, well, I don't want it, I don't like it. So I mean, what should the lady do then? This is serious stuff, because this is about the future of the children. I mean, how do you deal with that? Any thoughts? Okay. All right. So I mean, there's a lot to look at. There's a lot to consider.
Should I bring up the facts or later?
Pull out some facts.
Okay. So I wanted to ask a question though. So there are a number of surveys that have been done actually looking at what proportion of women or men are the breadwinners, so the main earners or the highest earners in families. And so there was a study done I read about a study in the UK and also in the US looking at the primary breadwinners. So what percentage do you think in heterosexual married couples, the wife is the main breadwinner?
Yeah. So the percentages.
What percentage do you think? Yeah. Yeah.
So just take a guess.
Just have a guess. Yeah. You want to continue on and then for a few minutes, and then I'll share the.
So you see now.
60%. Wow. Not that high.
Men, okay. That's about
Okay.
almost a third. Okay.
Yeah.
No, but
60%.
okay, yeah. 60%, 20%, 45%. Okay.
20%, 45%,
Okay.
40%. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, should I share? On
Yeah.
YouTube, anyone?
Yeah.
What percentage of women in married heterosexual relationships are the main breadwinners?
Yeah, I think you should share.
Okay. So in the study that I looked at, it was an American study, and it showed that 25%, so a quarter of wives, are the main breadwinners in the household. But would you believe that in that study, the proportion was actually higher for Black women? So it was actually 35% for Black women compared with the average of 25%. So in like a third of families, Black women were earning more than their husbands.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's quite a significant amount, really. Because given that, also, I mean, you would find that in most contexts, the culture is those sort of cultures are stronger in Black communities or in minority communities, whereby the man feels like I have to be the head of the home.
Yeah.
Right. So, but then you find that you have more women per ratio, that is, earning more than their husband. Okay. And in Europe, I think it's a third, isn't it?
Yes, a third.
Yeah. So I think that number is quite telling. Hence why this conversation. So coming back to the point that we're making earlier on about those examples, and you see at times also, right, a couple or the husband can find himself in particular contractors whereby he's earning so much, but all of a sudden everything dries up for years. For years, as nothing is coming in. So then what happens in those sort of scenarios? Anyway,
so like a few people said, one person said that because they have a side hustle, this is actually not the women working more than one job. This is them on their main job. So 25% or 35% of Black women earn more than their husband, and this is in a survey. This was like a survey of over 2,000 couples.
Yeah. But and it's not seen because of social issues in America. But here it's similar as well.
Yeah, so here's similar. I didn't see the figures related to race, but with regards to just women and men, it's about a third. It's a bit higher than in America.
Yeah. Anyway, so we thought to kind of bring a different dimension to this conversation. I'm going to invite someone to join this conversation now. I'm going to invite Sylvester to join this conversation, and quite an exciting one to actually have a different perspective. Hey,
hello,
Bure.
Hi, welcome Sylvester to the Blue Sofa.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's a pleasure to be on the Blue Sofa. I hope you guys can hear me okay.
Yes, we can hear you okay. And on YouTube, we actually have Sylvester on Instagram, and I hope you guys can hear him as well. You might need to speak up a little bit so that the guys on YouTube can hear you. Right. So Sylvester, we'll keep this quite short, more or less. And it would be nice to have seen Lara on the. I know you mentioned earlier on that you guys are family. So what's your view on this?
Well, for me, it's kind of a living experience for me because just to set a bit of context on where my view is coming from. So 2 weeks after we got married, I lost my job.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't in a discussion. She was a breadwinner. And I lost that job for over a year, almost a year and a half.
Yeah, so I know, right?
And she was the one actually bringing the bacon, or however you want to call it.
Yeah.
So my take on it is, first of all, it doesn't mean that I use my role as headship.
Yeah.
As Bible believing Christians.
Yeah.
But then that is a biblical approach to it.
Yeah.
when you deal with the realities of it, you know, it depends on the woman you're married to. So, you know, thank God I'm married to a good woman.
Yeah.
I'll say that because I know she's watching this. but without saying that, generally, I think majority of the pressures were self-imposed. You know, questioning every conversation you're having, once in a while thinking, oh, is it because she's anymore that this conversation is going this way? Or maybe I shouldn't talk too much now because she may just decide that I don't want to give this guy pocket money or something like that.
Hold on a minute. Hold on. You know, the sound of that actually makes me cringe. So, you know, as a pocket money, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, because what it is that, you know, I don't know how people run their own finances, but for us, we give ourselves allowances.
Yeah.
Whatever. So obviously, once someone loses a set of income coming in, things need to be readjusted.
Yeah.
Or is that a case of like before it was easier to say, well, this pocket money needs to come in, or this allowance needs to come in because, you know, I'm a guy, I'm going out, I'm going to work, I need to have that. But now, okay, you're not bringing any money in. How do you then go about saying, give me that stuff? But you know, and again, it was not like there was an environment where I couldn't say it, but it was just based on my background, based on my culture. Before getting into the marriage, my goal was my earnings cover everything we need, and yours just surplus to supplement to give us that extra like holiday, all those sort of things here and there.
Yeah.
And then it was a shocker that immediately you started the journey, straight back from honeymoon, boom, the job was gone. So it's like, okay, that's what you plan, but that's not your reality.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, for me, I didn't feel less of a head of the home, but I wouldn't lie, I put a lot of pressures on myself that were unnecessary. You know, there was never an argument. And even sometimes, you know, even for her, there was a bit of pressure on her because then she's thinking, I don't want this guy to feel that because he doesn't have a job. Now, if I decide to pick up an argument or have what we call
heated fellowship. Heated fellowship.
Exactly, heated fellowship. Have one of those type of conversations that it will now be a case of like, okay, is he feeling that because he's not working or anything like that, that I'm the one bringing the money now, that I can start talking, or not like she could never say, I mean, it's an open forum for you to express yourself. But so there are those pressures on my side. And I also knew 100% that knowing the kind of wife I had, that she put those pressures on herself as well. So it was a case of, you know, for probably a couple of months, 6 to 7 months into it, both of us working around thinking that we are working on the eggshells.
Yeah.
Pretty much that, like any little thing, finances could erupt, or, you know, I mean, I don't do ego or anything like that personally, but at the end of the day, you know, you think you don't, but in those situations, without having good mentors like yourself, Pastor Banks and Sister Fooms, you find yourself, you know, a lot of conversations come through your head. You know, even not just from your friends, from your family, from those that know, you know, you know, you're supposed to be doing this. You know, people that know may come in and then see maybe a certain conversation you've had with your spouse over 100 times and start reading it that, oh, guys, because you're not working, go and get a job somewhere quickly so that this person is not talking to you anyhow, things like that. But, you know, to God be the glory, it was never the case. And after that, you know, I have lost my job again. Like, you know, well, not really lost my job, like in transition or whatever you want to call it. And it was different from the first experience because then that was introduction into marriage. And then I sort of learned from that. And now it wasn't a case of like, oh, you know, it was just business as usual in the home, getting on the things that we're doing, having a more mature conversation about our finances, where we want to go, things we want to do, all that sort of stuff. Okay, when you get a job, how long are you going to keep applying? Because last time it took a year, almost over a year.
Yeah.
And this time it's the case of like, look, okay, you know, we're able to survive during that period. You know, I know it's not going to get over a year because obviously certain promises were made, and obviously just as a believer, you just know what God is going to do.
Yeah.
But other than that, you know, my position is that it shouldn't impact the headship position once you're both agreed as Christians that who the head of the family is. Responsibilities should still be taken. It just means that certain responsibilities will have to shift. And that's part of you having a helper and also being a helper yourself, whereby now these responsibilities, and it was comforting to know that she could handle all the responsibilities without, people, no one outside would have ever known if I didn't tell them that I wasn't working and she was the one. Because she held us high during those periods. So I don't know if that helps.
A great deal. So would you say that actually helped strengthen the marriage, as it were?
Very, very, very much so, because, again, part of the things we need to look at is things like love languages. Those were big conversations, because for some people, finances, security is a big thing for them.
Yeah.
Like, they can deal with anything in the world as far as they know that finance is okay, their children are fine, and they, it's just a case, okay, we just have to deal with this little thing. And so it taught us a lot as individuals, knowing ourselves, and also knowing ourselves within the marriage as well.
Yeah.
And so it can make all break.
Yeah.
But you have to have people around you that are willing to go through that journey with you, both ways. Both as the husband or the wife.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that. Now, did you guys ever sit down to have like real open conversations about these issues? Obviously, at the time, you talked about the pressures and all that. Did you guys really sit down and actually have a heart-to-heart talk about it?
Yes, we did. We did as much within our capacity to do that. Being just saying, look, things like it's not you, it's me, all that sort of stuff. I'm not putting, if I'm putting any pressures on you, let me know.
Yeah.
Let's see how we can address it.
Yeah.
Initially, obviously I'm I can be headstrong sometimes. So, I had a plan in my head on how we're going to bounce back.
Yeah.
In a place of prayer. So I wasn't really willing to listen to any other thing, but it was good to obviously sit down, talk about it, to say, okay, look, I understand this is your plan, but what else have you got in place? Help me understand and take me on this journey with you. You're not the only one going through it.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm bringing what we need to survive now.
Yeah.
But at least we need to be on the same page to know that this work I'm doing, everything that is going into here, is not just in vain, because you couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Just hanging on hopes and dreams, prayers and that sort of stuff. So yes, we sat down on numerous times. It didn't take 1, 2, 3 conversations. It took probably about 10 for it to start sinking home. And that's like just to scratch the surface. Not a case of like immediately after the 10 conversation, we both got it. No. It was just to scratch the surface.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that.
Thank you for sharing.
I'm sure, you deserve some nice back rubbing tonight. So you said that Lara's sister might want to say something. Is that still the case?
No, she had to jump on the road. So she's driving at the moment. So that's why she's not able to join the pod. She did want to add her own perspective in being single and just preparing for next races and things like that.
Yeah, thank you. Now, thank you, Sylvester. I'll let you go now.
Thank you, Lara.
Yeah, Mrs. Tripp, you said you've been in a similar scenario. Would you like to give a woman's perspective on this? Let me know if you want to. Let us know if you want to jump on, just very briefly. Don't worry, we'll be nice as always. It'll be nice to yeah. So if you want to jump on, let us know. Yeah, do you want to read the comment that was sent across to you?
Okay, yeah. So so when I sent the message out this morning, I got a message back from someone, and she said that a man is the head of the family because God said so. If you're one who relates with God regularly, he will remind you that your husband is the head of the home. You have to fall in line, mainly because there is something in the Bible that says, of all the things you have, which have you gotten by yourself or by your own power? So if he gave them to you, why are you boasting?
Yeah.
As a normal human being, without this revelation, accepting that the husband is still the head while you are the breadwinner is not possible.
Yeah, yeah. So that was someone's thought. Someone's thoughts rather. I'm going to add on Mrs. Tripp. She says she's in the kitchen. We don't mind, and we understand that women multitask very well. So I'm just going to patch Mrs. Tripp on. Where is that? Mrs. Tripp, where are you? Okay.
Okay, so someone said that it's up to different couples' circumstances. There might be issues on financial commitment if it's lopsided, which might affect their relationship. And the workable option might be to agree and communicate on their expenditure and avoid unnecessary luxury spending.
Yeah. Now that's my guy right there. Bring up, thumbs up. Thank you.
Okay.
Right, Mrs. Tripp.
Hi, Kemi. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So please let's. Is Tayo
Is
on?
Tayo on actually?
No, he's not. He's upstairs.
Okay.
But I've taken permission.
That's all right. Okay. Yeah. Go on.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I think this was actually like a few years ago. When at the time I think it was shortly after we got married. So we were both contracting, and then I think I was then obviously a couple of years later. I think I felt pregnant, and prior to that, Tyra had lost his job, so his contract had ended, and he was of course looking for work.
I can't believe
and Joshua, stop it, please. Sorry, can you excuse me? So so I was the only one working at the time, and in all honesty, I mean, if I think back now, I remember that initially wasn't comfortable with it. Yes, even sometimes when we want to do something, his reaction was always frowning. Even to talk about money and all of that, it was not really happy about it. But one of the things we did, during premarital counseling, we agreed that we were going to be having our money together. So it wasn't really my money or your money. But then he still didn't feel comfortable, like when he wants to do his own guy thing, or when we had to have, our own pocket money, or but then it went on for a while, and even after that, shortly after that, I got a contract. Then maybe after 6 months again, he was out of contract. So he had to just get on with it and get comfortable, because for me, I didn't see any difference in there. It was just we're building a home together, and nothing really should matter whoever owns the money. I also, and going back to what Bure said, I mean, with how Lara felt, because I could relate with that. I felt a lot of times, even when I'm like upset, I want to say something, I wouldn't be able to, because I used to feel that that pressure of him not thinking it was relating to the money or because I'm earning. So yeah, that made him get away with a lot of things that he wouldn't even normally should get away with. And then I actually remembered, I think I was saying to a friend of mine that I'm glad I applied wisdom, and the Holy Spirit helped me through that phase, because even at the time when just before,
Yeah.
and then I like I said, I got pregnant, right? So but before I got pregnant, I went permanent. So but this was one of the things that actually impressed me with what he did. So when I got when I became permanent, the account that the money was, because as a contractor you have a limited company, the account that the money was coming to then had to be my own personal account as a permanent member of staff. So I got paid in my own personal account, and I was still the one managing his own money, right? So and then obviously I went on maternity leave, and after a while I wasn't even getting paid anymore, but that really didn't matter to him. He still left all of that, and gradually I saw the growth in him. I don't know, maybe it was what I did, which is something I question, and I really should ask him that what actually made him feel so comfortable enough, because I don't think a lot of men do it out there. And for that, I'm always grateful for Tyler, that he doesn't look at his paycheck or want to know how much. Obviously he knows how much he's earning, but that money that comes into a joint account that I'm the one managing. So I know exactly, and then every month he's like, okay, well, we agree what we're getting paid and all of that. And God has been faithful. We haven't had that incident where it's not working or anything like that anymore. So, but it was lessons learned for me. Sometimes I reflect back, what if I'd done things differently, what would have happened, because now I feel that I'm enjoying that benefit and I don't take it for granted at all, because, it's like, yes, the same way he has a say over his money, I also feel I have a say over his money, just
okay.
thought to share that.
Thank you
for sharing.
Thank you, Kim, for sharing. Because of that, you deserve some foot rubbing tonight. Massage. So make sure he does it. I'll ask him to do that.
Okay, we'll do it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah.
No
okay,
problem.
then later.
Yes. Bye.
All right. So now we've had quite some interesting
two examples.
Examples
two
right
couples
there
where the guy wasn't working for a period of time, and the woman was the main breadwinner, and the outcome was positive. I mean, there are some outcomes that aren't as positive, and thinking about, I mean, like they shared quite a lot of challenges that we're having, and also in some of the comments, someone said culture plays into it as well. So if in our culture, or growing up, the man or the father or the husband is the main breadwinner, whilst the woman's income is just secondary. How do you change that for your life going forward? Because you would have that expectation, or you may have that expectation.
So I think and this is where again I'm going to refer back to scriptures now. On the back of the text that you read earlier on, something that I saw in this scripture that I've never seen before talked about it says wives, submit to your husbands as to the Lord, for the husband is the head of the wife. Now it's interesting that it didn't say the husband is the head of the home, right? Because I think they're two different things, although tied together. So it's positional as opposed to just functional alone in itself. It means that there's a structure, and for anything to work, there has to be some sort of structure or order to it. And I think if scripture can trump culture, right, whereby it's not so much because, oh yeah, this guy, he's not bringing as much, whatever. If I'm fully submitted to scripture, then what I want to try and do is align myself fully with scripture, right? I didn't choose which side of the world I was born. I didn't choose which gender I came in as, and I think for me, I see it as it's not so much about one person being better than the other. I think it's more in order to allow things to work properly, and someone said that, I think it was one of the richest men in Africa, or Nigeria at least. He said that when he met his wife, his pocket was empty, but his heart was full of faith and vision. And for me, I think more than anything else, if a man is not able to, if he's not earning as much, as long as he has a vision for the family, at least a clear enough vision to share with the family, to take them somewhere worthwhile. I think that's more important than money in the pocket. And this is where T Mac's point comes in. For me, I also don't measure things in that way. I think it's more about because money is a man-made construct, right? But more importantly, it's about the vision. It's about where we're going. Thinking about the wife's career, like you and I spoke about earlier. Think about where you want your wife to be in the next 10 years in her career, even though she's earning more. But thinking even beyond what she's earning now, to even being able to earn a whole lot more and having more impact on the job, thinking about the future of the children. So the conversation about the private school, no private school, it shouldn't be about whether we can afford it or whether she has money or not. It should be about, okay, what in the corporate good of this family, what is the best vision, or where do you want to take these children to? So I think that if the vision is in place, then money will not really should not really be an issue, But a lot of people struggle because the vision is lacking.
Yeah, but I think also sometimes the challenge is also other people. So Sylvester spoke about family, friends, and outside influences who will also come. So whilst you as a couple maybe agreed about what's going on, how you're going to manage and how you're taking things forward, it's also how do you manage and deal with people, family members, external factors that are coming around and trying to put pressure on you.
Yeah. No, but the reality of it is that you don't have control over other people's thoughts. As long as you are controlling the situation at home, in fact, I mean, it's unless you guys tell, it's to the extent that you share what's going on at home that the family members will know. So I think that pressure can be minimized. Of course, they will know that maybe it's not been working for a while, but that pressure can be minimized in the way it's being dealt with. And I'll come to some points that I have about that. So for me, more than anything else, it's a man with vision. So I don't subscribe to a man that is just sitting at home doing nothing, right? But if he's working, doing his best, then it is what it is, right? So, because at times some of the opportunities that we have, some of the opportunities that people have. So let me give you another scenario. I mean, I know of people who, let's say the lady married a guy who lived abroad, right? And then, of course, the guy decided to come to the UK to join his new bride, who's already established, probably born, raised, established in the UK. The likelihood they should be earning a whole lot more than him. So he's having to start all over again, right? Now, they both agree that he would do that. It could take years for him to find his feet properly, right? Now, but that doesn't take away from the fact that he has vision for his future. But if the guy comes around and he's just sitting at home doing nothing, believing that somebody will just place him in his in the grade or level that he thinks he should be based on what he was doing in Nigeria. Now I have a problem with that. I think that the key will be starting from wherever you find yourself, right, and working your way beyond that. So that's the way I kind of look at these things. In that, if a man is earning less, but then the lady wants to see that there is effort coming from him, not that he's just comfortable with the whole thing about, okay, she's earning the money and dropping it on his lap, worshiping him, for worshiping his ego and all that, So I think he's getting that very clear, Anyway.
So someone said, external fact, we are African. Does that not matter?
Well, we are Africans, but we're also Christians, right? And I think more than that, for me, I want my faith to trump my culture, right? And not only in terms of income or whatever, your culture should not. If you're building your life based on your culture, and there's nothing wrong with embracing culture, but culture should always be secondary, right? So, and when he says, so he said we're Africans, I'm not sure what he's getting at, because even these things happen in Africa.
Yeah, it's true.
Where the woman earns more.
Yeah.
Right. So what should do? Should the guy kill himself, or what should he do? It comes back again to the point about vision and how you see these things. Yeah. Any other thoughts before we go to some other parts of this conversation? And we're almost running out of time. So I think what I decided to do was to now think about, okay, well, if you're in that scenario where the lady earns more than the guy, how then do you help him not to feel any less the head, right? Because there's a way that, the two examples, the two people that spoke, Sylvester and Kemi, they gave, they really helped, balance out the conversation, But I think the guy needs to, and there's a way that the lady has to deal in practical terms that would help the guy, rise up to his place as, in a sense, the visionaire for his family, right? Okay, right. So I have here 6 points that I just want to just touch on. I'm not going to elaborate a quite straightforward point. I think one of the starting point is that the woman needs to pray for the man, You mentioned that as well earlier on when we were talking before this session. And I think the more you pray for your husband, right, truth from your heart, where your heart might have been hardened in certain regards, God begins to work on it, right? So, and when you genuinely begin to really pray for him, what begins to happen is that God begins to move him to his rightful place. Regardless of the situation or circumstance that things that you guys might have found yourself in, as you pray for him, I believe that things will begin to shift, right? Number two, now, so that's taking care of the spiritual side of things. And number two thing that I think would be helpful is that oftentimes, right, when you're in that scenario whereby the woman is earning more, it's easy for her to just make decisions.
Yeah.
She goes out, sees something she likes beyond the normal allocation, and just buys it. She's not meaning, the intention is not to hurt his ego or whatever. She just feels, well,
she can afford it.
Yeah, I can afford it, so why not? But I think it helps to always, get his opinion. Because that way, what happens is that it begins to feel like his opinion matters here. And so you want to get his opinion on things that affect the family.
Be involved. So we're having joint opinions or joint decisions.
Yeah. Of course, you get his opinion first, and then you give yours. So that always helps. And then someone said you want to listen longer and speak less. Because at times it's also very easy. Generally, I think biologically, in terms of even the way we're wired, women tend to speak more than men. Generally, But if the guy feels like he's being listened to, and he's not just being talked at or talked down at, he's more likely to also again, be open to having these sort of conversations freely. Number 4 is that you want to allow him to make mistakes, right? And by that, it means that he might come home and say, well, I got this business idea. Well, whose money are we going to use to invest, right? It's our money.
Yeah.
So you want to, of course, I know how that could be, particularly when you have a guy that has 1,000 ideas a day, kind of thing, puts money in one, doesn't even follow through, and then he's asking for more money to follow up on another idea, kind of thing. So, but you want to sort of, encourage him and allow him to make mistakes, right? That's a point. Then love him even when he makes mistakes. Because the other day we were talking about how, I was talking about how much I lost at the time, and someone was saying that my wife put me in the doghouse because I pretty much lost all our money. But she's full of grace and mercy that she didn't have to put me in the doghouse. But the point is, if I wasn't allowed to make that mistake, or if I felt that if I made that mistake, that's the end of it, I won't be able to venture to do big things.
I'll be limited.
I'll be limited in many senses. So you want to allow him to make mistakes, but then love him in that as well. And then lastly, but very important, and this is where the family thing comes in. You want to ensure that when you are amongst friends, family, you want him to speak for the family, right? So it's not like we are with friends and then because he's one earning more, saying, okay, our children are going to so and so school, or she's speaking for the family. But the guy wants to know that is the mouthpiece for the family, right? Amongst family, and that really helps him in himself, really. So it helps his ego, it helps him believe that his opinion really does matter and things like that. Any other, because I want to then flip it and speak from the
guy's point of view.
Yeah, the guy's point of view in terms of what I think the guy should also do. So are there any points that I need to note? We're almost out of time. What do you mean, Mr. Very true. Okay. Right. Okay. So in the little time that we have, some thoughts that actually came to mind as I was thinking about. For the guy's point of view, I think it's it's easy to share this, but it's actually very difficult to practice. But one of the things that I said to myself before we actually got married, I thought to myself that if for any reason my circumstance changes, right, whereby I'm not able to cater to my family, that God, I will do whatever it takes. If it means stacking up shelves, cleaning the floor anywhere, I'll do it. Not because, that would meet all the bills, but at least I need to be seen to be doing something towards the corporate furtherance of the corporate vision of the home. But thank God that hasn't been tested. Thank God that hasn't. But anyway, a few thoughts for the guys. So for my guys out there, one of the things that came to mind is that if your wife is earning a whole lot more than you, or even whatever, there has to be the willingness on your part to support and to serve, right? So she's out there working. It's not a big deal for her to say, "Only can you make some food?" And it shouldn't really be a big deal, But then, of course, it depends on where your ego is. It could become a big deal if you feel like, it's rubbing you off the wrong way. But I think once you settle some of these things in your mind early on, even when things are going good, it shouldn't be a big deal. The willingness to serve and to support the family should never be a big deal, And you don't have to be. It doesn't stop you from being the head by serving. In fact, Christ served, but then he's still the head, right? And then number two, you want to deal with your ego or your pride before you ever have to deal with it real life. So, using Kemi's example, and Tayo, where, of course, if things had gone the way we all planned, then everything will be perfect. But then you want to get to a place whereby before you lose your job, before you have to be checking your ego, you're allowing God to check that first. Because one of the reasons why men struggle with things like this is because pride gets in the way. And you might not even know that it's pride. You might just think, you might put it down. You use culture to explain it away, but it's actually pride, that will stop you from asking your wife for help when you need it, because you think, well, it should be the other way around. Yeah. The Bible says that the two shall become one, right? Then number three, you want to show real effort to bring something to the table. And that's why, for me, when I said earlier on that God, I said to God, Lord, if my circumstances change, I will do anything. So I don't believe in a head that is sitting at home doing nothing, watching TV, eating potato crisp, and waiting for the wife to go outside and just bring in some money. Whatever you can do, just do it. Let the wife see that this guy is trying. If it's 500 pounds that comes in after a hard day's work, hard week's work, just bring it to the table. Let's see that you're bringing something to the table, and that gives a sense of self-worth. And number four, for the guy, I think knowing that, or rather being responsible and accountable with money is very important. Because after all, you're not the one making the bulk of the money. The reason why earlier on when Sylvester said pocket money, as opposed to allowance, as we would say, is because it reminds me of secondary school. You earn children pocket money, and there's a sense in which the man could feel that way. But if you're being responsible, you're not just going out slashing and spending, and your accounts are transparent, then I think the woman will be more willing to open up and to share. But oftentimes when men are in that situation, they don't want to be questioned, because again, it plays on their ego and pride. Right. I think we're running out of time.
We're running out of time.
Yeah.
So kind of a few things. So communication is key, but also see the income that's coming in as our income, not mine or not his income. And another key point, which someone mentioned, is that financial, or the person bringing in the money, finance doesn't necessarily correlate with headship or the positional authority. So yeah. So thank you for sharing. And the other thing actually I just wanted to pick up is for those that are single, and the women might have like a really kind of high powered job or whatever. Sometimes there's a concern that will the guy feel intimidated by her income, what she's bringing in, and so on. And I think that's why it's really quite key before getting married to have certain conversations so that you can elucidate, has the man got vision? Would he feel intimidated by what I'm bringing in? What is his vision for my career or the plans for the future? And what contribution will there be from him to the household responsibilities as well? Yeah,
right. So prenup and Christianity might be a next conversation. But on your final note, to the single, like you said, to the ladies in particular, do not minimize your vision. Don't limit yourself. Don't minimize your vision just to please a man's ego. Go for it and become all that God has called you to be. God bless you.
Thank you for joining.
See you again
Bye-bye.
next week. Bye.